AITA for calling the police on my fiance? Last night my 35M fiance, 38F, left in the evening to give a friend's son a ride back to his home. She implied she'd be home before 9. She left at around 7:45. 10:15 rolled around and she still wasn't home. I texted and she apologized to me, saying that her friend's son was actually in the next town over, maybe 30 minutes away, and she was coming home now. 11:45 rolled around and she still hadn't come home. So I called her to no answer, texted her to no response. I was getting very upset. 12:30 rolled around and still no response and no answer to my phone calls. I was extremely angry. 1:30 rolled around and my anger had completely transformed into worry. Not answering my calls and texts not read. Around 1:45 I called the police. I have always heard that the first 24 hours of someone being missing is the most important. So I didn't want to delay. I asked them to let me know if there had been any traffic accidents involving her car. And the operator told me that they would put out the word and send some cops to check along the route she would travel. I called all the hospitals in the area to check if she has been checked in, and I waited outside, watching the road for her car for 3 hours. Partially because I didn't want the kids to hear me on the phone with hospitals. And secondly because I was sick with worry. At 7 a.m. she came home. She apologized for being out and said she had no excuse. She was driving home and felt tired, like she was falling asleep at the wheel. So she pulled over to the side of the road to sleep. When she did that, she found that her brand new phone had stopped working. She says she napped anyway because it was the responsible thing to do. And then came home at 7 a.m. to bring the kids to school and get to work on time. I immediately called the police and told them that she had come home safely and gave them the case number and told them to stop searching, which they did. My fiance brought the kids to school and left for work. I set out to start cleaning. Cleaning de-stresses me sometimes. And I got a call from a policeman asking where she worked. I told him, and asked why, and I was informed that it was their policy to check on the person's wellness after a missing person is found. I asked them to not go by her work but to give her a call instead. He said he couldn't promise. My fiancé is relatively new to her job. A police officer showed up and asked to speak with her. She is now enraged at me for calling the police and sending a cop to her work and making her look bad. She is saying I overreacted and that she wasn't missing and that I was punishing her for doing the responsible thing and not driving while drowsy. She is saying that she is never going to leave the house again except for work, because she is afraid I'm going to call the cops on her again. So did I overreact? Should I have waited 2 days like she suggests? NTA. You were right to call the cops, but I don't think that's the biggest issue here. So at 10:15, she was 30 minutes away, so that puts her arrival time at 10:45. Between 10:15 and 10:45 she got too tired to drive anymore, so she pulled over to rest. She proceeded to sleep for 8 hours straight through, since she returned at 7 a.m. Come on dude. You can't really be buying that she slept undisturbed for 8 hours on the side of the road when police were out looking for her car. She is lying. I don't know if she is cheating on you or is involved with drugs or gambling or what, but she did not sleep 8 hours on the side of the road when she was 30 minutes away from home. NTA. She said she was on her way home at 10:15 p.m. and then disappeared until 7 a.m. Of course you were going to call the police and have them go looking for her. If she'd been in an accident or worse, she would have been dead if you'd waited 2 days to call. That being said, she's definitely lying about what happened. It honestly sounds more like she fell asleep at her affair partner's place and concocted that bogus excuse to cover her ass. NTA, so a 1-hour drive turned into nearly 12 hours? You know she's lying, right? If she was just driving the kid home, she would have been home around 9 p.m. and wouldn't have been driving in the middle of the night and gotten so tired she was falling asleep at the wheel. Her phone wouldn't have died and you wouldn't have been worried or had to call the police. Even if she stayed to chat with her friend, she would have been home around 10:30, 10:45, and a half an hour drive at that time for the average person should be no issue. My guess is that she dropped off the kid and then met up with someone, told you she was on her way home, stayed, ended up falling asleep and then panicked that she fell asleep and rushed home for 7 a.m. and gave you that BS story. NTA. Something is up. That excuse doesn't fly. It just doesn't make sense that she'd sleep all night in her car to avoid a 30-minute drive home. I don't blame you for calling the cops. And her reaction is out of line. I think she's hiding something. If her friend's son was 30 minutes away, then she should have been back by 9. I'm 95% sure she's lying to you about where she was. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news here. NTA. But even if that phone was dropped in a toilet, it was working when she got home. It is policy for them to check in person because they have to see that the person is alive and well. Because anyone could make a phone call and say it. But dude, 30 minutes away, stops to sleep on the side? If you reported her missing, her car would also be noted. If she was on the side sleeping somewhere, wouldn't they have seen the car and well woken her up? Her story reeks. Don't fall for it, dude. She's still only a fiance. Don't make her a wife before this is cleared up with legitimate reasons. Because none of hers seem right. I think your fiance is getting railed 2 towns over, my guy. Sounds like in the situation you had legitimate reason to worry about her safety. She also seems to be way overreacting to this situation. If there were a problem at work with a police officer showing up, it seems easy enough to brush away by having the police explain why they were there. Reacting by never leaving the house again also seems kind of crazy. I also think her story doesn't entirely line up. If the police were actually out looking for her to any extent and had a description of her car, it should have been trivial for them to spot it parked on the side of the road she would have been driving on. NTA. But you might want to push further on what actually happened. NTA. But you know that isn't the truth, right? NTA. I don't believe her story one bit. Driving a kid home and disappearing for the entire night is a massive red flag. How does she not even know where he lives when she started the drive? How old is this kid? Pulling over and sleeping on the side of a road for a 30-minute drive is nuts. She is now turning this around to say she is the victim of your actions. NTA. Dude. Cops didn't come across her car on the side of the road in 7 hours when they were actively looking for her? Come on. Her phone didn't work while she was missing. But it was fine when she got home? Her story changed multiple times. Oh, oops. It's an hour drive both ways, so that's why I'm 3 hours late. Oh, oops, my phone didn't work after my first lie, but oops. It's fine now. I was sleeping. MMHMM. Come on, man. I hate to be the one to tell you. NTA. But everyone on this sub knows your fiance is lying to you. The question is, are you going to stick your head in the sand and pretend you believe her? Or continue to let her lie to you? And be gullible? I think you should show her this post. Our responses. The fact no one believes her flimsy lies. And ask what she thinks. NTA. You checked up on her welfare. Yes, it's very admirable that she allegedly didn't drive while drowsy. But, did she ever explain why it took hours to drive someone 30 minutes away? Like, What was she actually doing? Her story is completely unbelievable. Sorry. NTA, this sounds like utter BS. Besides, weren't the police checking the roads she would have been driving? She couldn't get to a gas station or somewhere to give you a call. At 10:15 she was on the way home, and between then and 11:45 she dropped her phone in the toilet and decided to take a nap in her car. Did the phone ring at 11:45? Because that probably means it wasn't off. And, oh, but it's working now though. Right. It's bad enough she's lying, but this is just insulting to your intelligence. Please update if you ever find the truth and/or break up with her. So sorry, Op. I read you have an open relationship. And I guess rules are different there. Her new phone wasn't working? Bet it works now. Weird. She pulled over to doze? And had an 8-hour sleep in her car? Not a quick nap? A female decided pulling over to doze was the best choice of action? She pulled over and could not finish what was left on a 30-minute trip. She was driving a friend's son home and had no idea where she was going. I sure felt uncomfortable reading this, and I know neither of ya. NTA. If the police drove the route she took, they would have seen her car, you would think. Time to start figuring out who her other boyfriend is. NTA. You're a good partner. But she's obviously a lying liar who lies. NTA, but let's be real, she is either on drugs or has an affair. That whole story is absolute nonsense.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Ericast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.